Before we get started today, everyone, on this episode of Movies and Marketing, also known as MOMA, we had a tiny snafu. Isn't that right, Chad?
Yeah, just a quick little note on a slight, tiny error that affected everything that happened on the show. It's what some people call the butterfly effect, or in this case, the Aladdin effect. So what happened here was we made the small error of thinking that Memorial Day weekend didn't start until May 31st instead of May 24th. So what we did was we excluded a section of movies, most notably Disney's Aladdin, which is probably the movie that would have ended up getting drafted by one of our teams in this show. You have no idea what that means at this point, but you will as we move forward. So that's the movie that would have made an impact here that got left out because of our screw up. So apologies to Aladdin and Blue Will Smith for leaving you out of this competition.
I will say, if we did have a genie in a lamp, one of our wishes could be to go back and to re-record knowing that. Would it? No, maybe that wouldn't be the equivalent of a good wish, but...
And it's also not our fault because Memorial Day came early this year, and I still stand by the idea that summer basically starts in June. So
yeah.
Forget this whole thing ever happened.
Yeah, so we just wanted to make mention of that. And now on to the episode.
In a world where movies rely on marketing more than ever to connect with audiences, one podcast aims to make sense of it all. This is Movies and Marketing.
Next Saturday night, we're sending you back to the future.
Go ahead, make my day.
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard? What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Take a look around. You're at the threshold of hell.
We might as well have a good time.
I am an FBI agent!
God, seems like 1,000 years ago. I fought my way out of that cave, became Iron Man. Realized I loved you. I know I said no more surprises, but I was really hoping to pull off one last one.
So, welcome to the podcast, everyone. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Chad. And hard to believe it since, we've been overwhelmed by Avengers Endgame for like a month. Seems like 25 years now, but summer movie season hasn't even really started yet, Patrick. Can you believe it?
It is pretty unbelievable.
But yet, we have this movie that I think everybody's going to remember as this giant movie, and people think about it as a summer movie. It's not a summer movie, Patrick. It's not a summer movie.
It's not. It doesn't fall into our summer movie bracket timeline, so it can't be.
I think that's the way people think about it, and I think that's the way people are going to remember it. But it's not. It came out in April. Come on.
Yeah, April's still spring. Very, very spring in April.
So spring. I don't know. I don't know what to say other than summer movie season still on the horizon. Forget about Endgame. Let it go, people. It's over.
I will say this. This is the first Summer Box Office Challenge podcast that we've done under the new name of MOMA, Movies and Marketing Podcast. Every other year we've done it under Speaking Humans, the original podcast series that we have on speakinghuman.com. But this is the first one, right? That falls under this new brand.
That's true. We moved it over because it makes more sense here where we talk about movies and marketing exclusively. So it made more sense this year to move it over. But this is a time-honored tradition that goes back 3 years, all the way back to 2016, when we started doing this challenge, when we started challenging each other to see who could better kind of predict what would happen at the U.S. box office over the summer. And we've done this for 3 years. And do you remember what's happened in that time, Patrick?
I believe you are now in the lead, right? I won 1 year.
We've gone back and forth. So 2016, I took it. 2017, you took it. 2018, I took it back. The pattern tells us you've got a good chance of taking it this year.
Yeah, we've often talked about having a trophy that we could pass back and forth. You could keep it in your house for the year when you win, and I will keep it in my bathroom of my house when I win.
Yeah, and I'll definitely want to win more to keep it out of your bathroom. Yeah, and this year, it's a little different. We got a little twist going. And we'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about, for a second, what we think of as the summer movie season, because that has changed a little bit as these movies keep pushing back. First, it was into May, and now we've gone into April a little bit. The summer movie season has gotten bigger, but not to us. We're traditionalists here. It goes from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day weekend. That's summer, people. There's clear, definitive brackets to when summer starts and when summer ends. And that's how we define the summer movie season. Always will be. So sorry, Detective Pikachu. Sorry, John Wick 3. Sorry, terrible looking Aladdin movie with Will Smith. You're all knocked out. You don't count as summer movies.
Yeah, it's a little sad. There are some good movies. I am looking forward to John Wick, Chapter 3.
Yeah, definitely. We both raved about that trailer on this very show. You can go back and listen to that episode. No need to really see the movie because the trailer's just so good. That's definitely a good one. So we lost out on a few things, but the way we're doing this year as opposed to years past, what we had done was we both just made our top 5 list. This is what we both think are going to be the top 5 movies this year, and we had a lot of overlap. This year we're doing something different. We're doing a draft so that neither one of our lists can be the same. We just can't have the same movies. If one person gets it, the other person can't have it. So this is our first time doing this draft format. What we have is a list of 24 movies. We're each going to pick only 7 on each team. We're going to go back and forth. We'll let you pick first. Since I won last year, we'll give you that advantage since I am the champion of the world. And then we'll see, kind of what our teams look like. It'll be kind of like fantasy football. You'll have your squad, and at the end of the draft, you might look at it and be like, oh, man. Or you might be like, I'm going to crush with this team.
I think this is probably the best idea we've had since we started the challenge because this makes it just that much more interesting to see how things play out because we both can't have the same item on our list.
Yeah. And how this works, just to be clear, is by the end of that Labor Day weekend, you add up the total box office by all the movies on your list, and whoever has the highest number there, whoever movies have made the most money, winner. Pretty easy there.
Yeah, that part is easy. I mean, you and I have both listened to podcasts where they do challenges like this, and they make it really complicated. We're just doing it by sheer box office ticket sales, right?
Yeah, total U.S. box office. It's all domestic. So, that being said, are you ready to get this going, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm first up. I love the chances here because I have an advantage. Hopefully I don't squander this advantage by my first pick. If you know anything about me and the way I've picked in the past, if you go to the past podcast episodes, I have a tendency to go the route of superheroes and action movies just because I think a lot of times those tend to be the ones that people see in the summer because, everybody's revved up. It's summertime. Everybody's amped up. All the adrenaline pumping through people's veins in the summertime, right?
Okay.
Maybe not. Maybe that's all in my head. But summertime is not let's go see a romantic comedy. That's fall, winter, but in the summertime, it's action and adventure. So, that being said, my first pick is Spider-Man: Far From Home, July 2nd.
Okay.
All right. You like that one?
That's a good one. Sure to be a big one.
I'll give you a little reasoning behind that. I don't know if this makes it interesting or not for everyone. But, I think about Endgame, and I think a lot of people they still want more. They would still want answers, And I think Far From Home, if you haven't seen Endgame, has some spoilers in the trailers. They do answer some questions that came out of Endgame. So, I think that there is going to be some residual coattail riding in this new Spider-Man movie. That's a lot of endgame money that could be coming over into the Spider-Man universe.
That's a good one. I have heard that people do like superhero movies.
Was that on your list of things to pick? I'm sure it was.
It was on my list, though it probably wouldn't have been my first pick.
Yeah, I know what your first pick is.
You know what my first pick is? What do you think it is?
I think it's Toy Story 4.
It is absolutely. I would have gone right to Toy Story 4. I think that's going to be the number one movie of the summer. So that's going to be my pick here. I'm grabbing Toy Story 4. You know, the strength of that franchise, I think that's going to probably just edge out Spider-Man. Spider-Man's not quite the Avengers. It doesn't quite have that much juice. I think it's going to make a lot of money. I don't think it's quite going to make Avengers money, but Toy Story, if you look at what Incredibles did last summer, I think we're going to see a lot of money there, possibly like $500 million. You know, is Spider-Man going to hit that? Maybe.
Yeah, I really do believe that those two are probably going to be the top two. You know, in the past, I have made critical errors in judgment when, especially in the first year, I did not include a family-friendly movie like Toy Story. So I do recognize that. I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. I did in the second year because I won, obviously.
Even last year, we both had Incredibles 2 on our list, but we both underestimated that it would be the number, I think it was the number one movie last summer. Over Jurassic World, it was the number one with $600 million. That's a lot of money.
As a boatload of money, as I like to say.
A lot of juice, I guess, because we weren't counting Infinity War.
Yeah,
which
right.
Came out in April, not the summer.
What's wrong with them? Yeah, you know, those are definitely two really good picks. Number one worthy.
Yeah, they look like number ones.
Yeah. I probably won't make this big of a deal out of the next picks because they won't be as high on the list. But Toy Story 4, in the name, it's 4.
You feel like the franchise is falling off. You feel like it's aged.
A little. You know, now you're at 4. And I don't know if it's got the same power and influence. People still love Toy Story, don't get me wrong. And I will probably still see it with my kids. But the story is starting to become maybe stretched out a little bit too thin. So,
yeah. Well, and a lot of people thought they had a perfect trilogy ending with the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very good. The third one was very good and ended very well. So we'll see what happens.
So my number 2, I am going to go the route of a family-friendly movie and pick something that I think will have a pretty good turnout this year, and that is The Lion King in July 19th. The live-action version of the animated movie, The Lion King. What do you think?
It's a good one. I think that's a good one. That's probably where I would have gone next. Yeah.
It's hard when you're starting to cross ones off from the other person because it makes you adapt to the new running list, right?
Yeah. The farther we get, the trickier it gets. You're like, where do I go now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think sure to make a lot of money. They had that Jungle Book movie that made a lot of money that looked pretty similar. And the only question there is, how oversaturated are people going to get with all these Disney movies? Your Aladdin, your Lion King, your Toy Story. There's a lot of kids' movies this summer.
There are a lot of kids' movies, a lot of family movies this summer, which is probably my biggest takeaway. The one thing I will say about the live-action movies is that they have this built-in audience. Beauty and the Beast. You've got those people who grew up or their kids grew up with these movies, and it's almost like we have to go see this. We have to go see what they did in a live-action version of this. It's almost like you don't even have a choice, right? As a moviegoer, you're like, I have to take the kids to go see this because we watched Lion King 1,000,000 times when they were little, or Aladdin 1,000,000 times when they were little. We know this movie backwards and forwards. We have to go see the live action. And I think they have that built-in audience.
Yeah, and it's not only that, it's the summertime. Kids are out of school, parents need something to do, kids need something to do. There's been some summers in years past where you're like, why aren't there more movies for kids? You're just looking for those, and families are eager for those, and I think that's why you saw like something like Incredibles 2 making that much money, where people are going back like multiple times because they're just desperate for children's fare, something for the whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for my next pick, it's kind of, I'm torn here between family and something a little less family. I think I'm going to go something a little less. Not sure if this is a smart move, but it's what I'm doing. I'm going to go with something with a lot of ands in it. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. This is my second pick. This might be a mistake. This is my number 2. Yep. I think this is going to make a lot of money.
All right. I got to be honest. I think this is where
it's a little early for this one.
I think this is
These
where
Fast
you're
and
going to.
Furious movies make a lot of money.
They do. I think this is where you're going to really regret that choice.
You might be right.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Anything The Rock is in, I'll watch it. But I will tell you, I probably won't see this in the theater, so I won't help your numbers at all. But
I probably could have got it later.
yeah. But that's okay. That's all right. It's a pick.
I'm feeling a little regret in my stomach. That's all right. That's all right. There's a lot of draft to go. Maybe we should move on.
Yeah. So,
It's gonna do well though. I saw it had a great trailer. Looks like a lot of action. It's gonna come around the beginning of August, and I think it's gonna be one of those movies. But now I'm wondering how much money is it actually gonna make? Maybe it's like a $250 million. There might still be some 300 plus on the table here, though I don't know. Then I'm looking down at these titles. I'm like, what are they? So,
and that's a great point because, we had this discussion before, and we've had it many times in our challenges, is that, our picks are based because of our background on the marketing, right, of these movies and these films. And I will say there is a lot in the list in this summer of movies that I have never heard of. And I think it always comes back to this idea of the marketing, how well these movies have been marketed so far before we're even into the summer movie season, right?
yeah.
That being said, there are just some that obviously stick out. So from here on out, this is tough for me because there are movies of the level where I don't know where they're going to place,
No, I agree. Looking down the list, you're pretty questionable.
So I'm going to go, the next on my list is going to be Secret Life of Pets 2.
Yeah, that's probably what I should have picked second.
Yeah.
Because that'll probably do a little better. You never know. Hobbs and Shaw. We could be looking back and be like, Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, you're probably right. Like you said, the Fast and Furious franchise has definitely made bank. I mean, that's why they keep releasing them. What are we on, like 400?
Somewhere around there.
I mean, this is Fast and Furious Presents now. I mean, we're at that point. They want to do an offshoot, but they knew they had to add in Fast and Furious because the franchise is the seller.
It's true. This is going to be a test of how watered down it is. So Secret Life of Pets came out in 2016 and made $368 million. We'll see how strong this is. Is it going to bump up from there or even if it goes down some from there?
What was the last Fast and Furious movie? What did that do?
226 domestic. That's not very good. I thought it would have done better.
Yeah.
But it did like $1 billion worldwide. So it's more popular worldwide. Bad pick. Hobbs and Shaw.
I think it's still a runner in the list. I think it's not a bad choice because it does give you some numbers.
Too early, though. It's too early. I blew it too early. I could have got like 300 million. I probably got like 200. I cost myself $100 million. That could be deadly.
Yeah, probably will be.
Early mistake. Damn it.
The critical strategy mistake that you made. So what do you think? What's going to be the thing that brings you back? What's the next one on your list?
The thing that brings me back is going to have to be Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
See, I would have definitely
Memorial
picked that
Day
next.
weekend opening. It's going to have to open big. It's kind of the first summer movie. I don't know that people love Godzilla. The last one was okay. Kind of made like 200 million. I don't see this one doing a whole lot more than that, but it's kind of got that primo first big movie of the summer opening, so.
And it is Memorial Day weekend, like you said. Yeah, I think that's a good pick. Godzilla has a special place in my heart, obviously, since, our agency is Monsters Unlimited. Shameless plug. I think then my next pick will have to be, it's a tough list after that.
Gets really tight from here.
Yeah, it does. It does. I think it's going to have to be X-Men Dark Phoenix, June 7th.
Okay, this is a total wild card to me. I don't know how people feel about the X-Men anymore. I don't know much about this movie. Will it be good? Will it not be good, you know?
Here's the thing about that movie is that this series of X-Men, the one with the younger cast, has done really well. X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past, and X-Men Apocalypse, those all did, 150 to 250 million. So I think it has a lot of potential to be there. I don't think it's going to be mind-blowing in terms of box office numbers, but I think it'll be a contender in there.
Yeah, I don't know. It has to be good, I guess. If there's good buzz on it, people are always interested in superheroes. But pickings are slim from here. I think at this point, I'm going to grab Men in Black International. Do people still care about this? Is there a possibility? This could be a total flop. I have no idea.
I don't know what will happen with this movie. It would have probably been next on my list too. I'm not sure why this franchise came back, but I will say, if it has one thing going for it, it's Chris Hemsworth. I think there's a lot of potential. It's a real question mark in the summer.
And there's a lot of these like wild cards. It has that name recognition, but you're like, how interested are audiences today in this 20-year-old franchise just because you're sticking some new faces on it?
Being completely honest, I was really surprised when I first saw this. I was like, what? They're doing another Men in Black movie? But then, but then it doesn't surprise you because you think about Hollywood, and Hollywood just does this, like they just regurgitate.
Recycle everything. Yep.
Yeah. I used regurgitate because it's
You did.
more like...
Recycle I thought was nicer. Regurgitate, a little more disgusting.
Yeah. Anyway, not picking on Hollywood. Sorry there for all of the Hollywood execs who are listening to the podcast going, what are these guys doing? They're ruining all of Hollywood with their negativity. So it's hard after this. I think I'm going to go with Shaft.
Oh.
Yeah.
A real wild card.
I think that there will be people that go see it because of its history. Shaft is a very iconic character. And Samuel L. Jackson playing that character, I think people will probably gravitate towards that movie because of that. Outside of that, I don't know. I mean, I watched the trailer. It doesn't look all that unique necessarily. What do you think?
I don't know. I have no idea on that one. I haven't seen much about it. I know there was the Shaft remake. It seems like an interesting idea to me, something I'd like to watch, but for like the widespread mainstream audience, how much are people going to flock to that? How much do today's generation even know who Shaft is? How much is that recognizable? I don't know. But I like that you went for it with that. It's a swing,
Yeah.
This is where we get into the nitty gritty here. This is where we make the decisions, other than my blowing it by, picking Hobbs and Shaw way too early. This is where we make, I think, the decisions that are going to define how this plays out.
It's hard.
I think I'm going to go with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood now.
Man, I really wanted that.
I think I'm going to bank on Tarantino. He's had some hits. He can make some money. There's some big stars in here. It was like 10 years ago, but when Inglourious Bastards came out in the summertime, that made some money. People surprisingly, I remember being surprised how big of a hit that was, and people went to see it. It made like over $100 million. So this movie has Brad Pitt and DiCaprio, so depending on the buzz on it, if this is a good buzz movie, people will go and see it.
Yeah, I think that would have probably been the next on my list as well. And the trailer looks good. I want to go see it, actually, because of it. So
yeah, and, Tarantino always attracts some interest. Be interesting to see how that one plays out. It's total wild cards this summer. There's not a lot of sure things on here. So what are you picking next?
So the next on my list, this is tough for me because nothing is really super appealing to me at this point. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm picking at this point to pick.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel. That's why this is pretty good, though. These are the picks that I think matter because these are the ones that could be like total flops, or they could end up making like, $75 to $100 million. And that's a big difference.
Exactly. So my next pick is going to be Rocket Man.
That's where I would have gone too. That's what I was looking at.
So this movie, if everybody doesn't know, it's based on Elton John's life. I just think you've got a lot of people who are fans, and that might be enough pull. It might be enough pool to get you some box office numbers on that, or get me some box office numbers on that in this case.
I think it actually will. And my basis for saying that is that Bohemian Rhapsody movie. I think it can cross the 100 million mark easy. That might be a good play for you. I was actually debating that and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think those two could be kind of around the same area. So that could turn out to be a pretty good number 6 pick for you. Your list, I feel like, is crushing mine.
Really? Quentin Tarantino movies, they just tend to do pretty well, so.
Yeah, definitely. No, that was a solid. I was pretty happy with that pick. I just think that Rocket Man has the potential there. There's that mainstream potential where if that does that Bohemian Rhapsody money, people kind of want that. They like the songs of Elton John.
Yeah. So what do you got on your list?
I don't like any of them. I wish I wasn't picking right now. I actually wish you wouldn't have picked Rocket Man so I could have picked that one, because everything else I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go with, let's see here. What terrible choice should I make?
You should go for Stuber.
I'm thinking though, I'm like, maybe there's a place on here for some sort of, I don't know, comedy. Do I want to pick a horror? Something like that.
You have picked horror movies in the past and have gotten pretty lucky with those because they've been hits.
Yeah, and horror can make some money depending on the timing and when they come out and stuff like that. Let me see, what should I pick? It's too hard. I think I'm going to go with, and regret, I'm going to take a long shot. I'm going to pick the Child's Play remake.
Oh, I was going to pick that.
Were you going to pick that?
I was going to pick that because I thought, it's Child's Play.
I just wanted to pick a horror movie. Horror movies tend to get an audience. Maybe it'll make like $60 million or something like that. Teens like to go see a horror movie. This one is actually voiced by Mark Hamill, so that's kind of fun.
Oh, that is funny.
But that's all I got. I'm just throwing out a bone to the new Chucky coming out in June 21st. So Child's Play, my number 6. Oh, God. My list really turned on me. I love this draft idea, and it really just has bitten me hard.
I feel you, man. I feel you. I don't know.
You didn't have time to come up with something, and all that time I was sitting there like sweating and crying?
Yeah, so this is it for me. So I'll tell you, I'm going to go for a total wild card here. One that may totally break me like you thought your Fast and Furious would. I think I'm going to go with Dora and the Lost City of Gold.
Okay.
So you've got a lot of kids who grew up with Dora who are adults now. It's a live action movie and it's in August. Mm-hmm. So it's towards the end. So if somebody wants to go see something in August, it's between that and Angry Birds 2. And the problem with Angry Birds 2 is that...
Angry Birds 1?
Yeah. Angry Birds 1 did actually pretty decent money.
Yeah.
But it was a little after that craze of Angry Birds, the app. So I think people went and saw it because of that. But the problem is we're way too far removed now. I don't think that franchise has enough staying power. So Dora and the Lost City of Gold, I'm throwing the dice out onto the table and I'm like, give me a 7. Give me a 7.
Well, at this point, you got to take a shot, I think, is what happens.
Yeah.
So here's the things I was considering. So I thought about the Angry Birds movie too, like you mentioned. I could use another kids thing, but I agree. I feel like that's not going to do as well as the first one. It'll throw out a little August money there. Annabelle Comes Home. That's another horror one, but that comes out at the same time as Child's Play, and I already took my horror shot. So I'm going to mark that one out. I also thought about Late Night, which is a comedy that comes out June 7th. I think could play to like kind of an adult audience. I don't see a super amount of money in that, but man, there's just no comedies. There used to be so many comedies in the summer, I miss that.
Yeah, I agree with you there, for sure.
I think Angry Birds 2 is probably like a given, I don't know, $75 million, 65, something like that. We'll take the Angry Birds 2. We'll play it safe. We'll go, I might want that money because I already blew it with Hobbs and Shaw. I need another family film because I already passed on Secret Life of Pets 2 when I should have taken it and I could have still got Hobbs and Shaw. That's a great regret. How things could have played out if I would have got that one.
Yeah, I think that's probably a safe choice. I don't know, though, man. I think maybe if you had that choice again, I would have picked Annabelle Comes Home over Angry Birds. I think that might make a little bit more money. That's just my guess. I don't know for sure.
You might be right. They're both sequels coming out off of like $100 million movies. In the drought of August, families might be looking for one last movie. It's probably not going to do great. The other Angry Birds movie, not exactly beloved.
Yeah, we don't always touch on this, but, there is a strategy to the timing of the movies, too, like when we're picking them, because The Lion King coming out on July 19th, and you've got Stuber coming out on July 12th, and Stuber, you might pick it as your last pick. Lion King's going to really hurt any movie like that. You know what I mean? Anything that came out the week before, it's just going to stifle the numbers. So you have to be really careful about, when you pick those.
And family films, against family films, they might get eaten alive a little bit. But I will say, Stuber doesn't sound terrible to me. Terrible title, but I don't know. I would watch it.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick recap of our list here. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, so my list consists of, and I'll do them in the chronological order of when they come out. I've got Rocket Man on May 31st, Secret Life of Pets 2 on June 7th, X-Men Dark Phoenix on June 7th. So I pretty much own all of late May and early June. Then I've got Shaft on June 14th, Spider-Man Far From Home on July 2nd, The Lion King July 19th, and then Dora and the Lost City of Gold on August 9th.
What an interesting list. I do love this format.
Yeah, it makes it interesting and challenging too.
It does, in which it just gets so hard towards the end. If we extended these to 10, I don't even know how I'd do it. So here's what I've got. On May 31st, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Then on June 14th, I've got Men in Black International. June 21st, Toy Story 4. Also on June 21st, Child's Play. What a combo.
Kind of funny how that works out because they're both kids' movies with toys.
Yeah, perfect to take the children to. All ages.
Yeah.
Then I got a little drought until July 26th when Once Upon a Time in Hollywood comes out. Then August 2nd, the big one. Everybody go see Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. And then August 14th, the Angry Birds movie 2.
Just picking these lists, this made this podcast episode that much better for me. Like, it's just more interesting and fun because we have to be creative in the way we choose our lists now. It's dependent on what the other person picks, which is kind of interesting.
Really fun experience. We're going to probably do this for the rest of our lives now. So that being said, looking at your team, what do you think of your team? What do you think of your chances of winning? How do you feel?
I feel as good as I've ever felt. I feel good about it. I think against your list, I feel pretty good about my list.
For the mistakes I made, I go back, I look at our top three, and I get a little worried because I feel like your top three is stronger than my top three. You've got Spider-Man, The Lion King, Secret Life of Pets 2. I've got Toy Story 4, Hobbs and Shaw, Godzilla. And I look at that and I worry because your top three is definitely stronger than mine. I feel like my only chance is for Toy Story 4 to blow away everything else. That's what I kind of need to happen because I think my 2 and 3 are much weaker than your 2 and 3.
You have a good chance because here's the thing, strategy-wise. Toy Story 4 comes out June 21st. There's really nothing that touches that until Spider-Man comes out July 2nd. I think you have enough runway. There's nothing really before it that's a big contender. Toy Story has a real chance to make a run for it and make some good money those first couple weeks.
I need Toy Story 4 to be the number one movie of the summer by about $100 million, I think. I'm worried that if Spider-Man or The Lion King, I feel like either one of those movies could be the top movie of the summer. And then I'm in trouble. Because I feel like Hobbs and Shaw or Godzilla, neither one of those have the chance of being the number one movie of the summer. Cumulatively, your top three, I'm in trouble. So then I'm relying on my 4 through 7 to cover that ground, and the difference between the amount of money those movies is making versus the top three is a big difference, We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars.
So what you're saying is you need Toy Story 4 to be endgame.
I needed to do a Incredibles 2.
Oh, okay. You went with Incredibles 2. I thought you needed it to be your endgame.
If it could do an Endgame, that would be awesome.
I would be shocked. We'd have to do another episode.
I don't know if it quite has that level of appeal, but that'd be nice, yeah.
We'll see. You never know. Woody and Buzz and Bo.
So is Forky.
What? Oh, Forky?
If you've seen the trailer, there's a character who's like a fork and a spoon put together. Well, we'll start finding out soon because, Memorial Day weekend, not too far away. We'll start seeing what Rocket Man and Godzilla and Dark Phoenix do that weekend.
We've talked about this a lot over the years. Some summers just seem very blasé when it comes to the movie choices. What are you the most excited to see, or do you feel like overall the list was pretty decent?
I don't know. We always ask this question. I feel like I always have the same response where I'm always kind of like, nah, this one looks okay. There's a few things in there that I'm like, that seems interesting. Toy Story 4, Godzilla, Spider-Man, okay. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's probably the one I'm most interested in. That's the one I'm most excited to see. I'm always on board for whatever Tarantino's offering up because I think it's always interesting and he always brings out the best in his actors. So I'm always excited to see that. So that's probably my number one movie if I was picking. But when I'm looking out at the crop from this angle, it looks pretty average to me. It looks like a C+ or a B-.
I would go with you on that. I'd say probably like a B, B-. It's pretty average. We've had some movie summers in the past that have been less than excited about. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. It's not the worst. It's not the best. Who knows? You never know that things might surprise you because by the time, August 3rd comes around, people might be like, God, Hobbs and Shaw is the best summer movie I've ever seen in my life. I can't wait to just keep going to the theater and seeing it over and over.
Yeah. The Rock could bring in, another $600 million or so for that franchise. It's very possible.
Watch the trailer. It's really good.
And what's his face with him? Jason Statham. He's got a big fan base too, so you never know. I mean, it might be a killer out there.
Yeah, my wife loves Statham. I don't know why.
Probably because he talks like this.
And he's tough. He's tough as nails. Everyone, please tune in to our follow-up podcast after Labor Day when we crunch the numbers on these movies to see whose team emerges victorious. I think we all know whose it's going to be, but you never know. You never know. No, we know.
We'll find out who's going to get that belt.
Do you want it to be a belt or do you want it to be a trophy that's maybe it's got a guy sitting on the toilet watching a movie on his mobile phone? It's how people watch movies today. A lot of movies get watched in the bathroom.
That would be good. Could be a cup. It should be golden. It should relate to movies.
What about silver? I mean, the silver screen?
That's true. That's true. Something nice and silver.
But something that you could see your reflection in, so you could always look at yourself and be like, I won this.
Yeah, and something you can breathe on and polish.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
Are you polishing
my trophy that I won last year?
Well, you better not scratch it because I'm going to win it back.
We'll figure that out. We'll get the details of that worked out.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for this episode of Movies and Marketing. Until next time, let's fade to black.
I'll be back.
He's not coming back.